Welcome, and thank you for joining us for today's Dealer On webinar. Attention Internet Managers, 6 Steps for Immediate Success. My name is Eliana Raggio, and I'll be your moderator today. And today's webinar is being presented by Dealer On. And for anyone who isn't familiar with Dealer On, well, we're an award-winning website development company and digital agency, and we're best known for our search engine optimization, our best-in-class customer service, and our award-winning websites. Dealer On is also the newly launched chameleon responsive website platform. And David, maybe you could move the slides forward. You know, when you feel like it. We're so committed to lead conversion, optimization, and customer service that Dealer On's still the only company in the industry to offer a money-back lead guarantee program. So, does your website company guarantee you leads? Well, then maybe you should check us out at dealeron.com. And we have a great show in store for you today. We're very pleased to have David Kain as our presenter today. David Kain is president of Automotive.com, an award-winning training consulting company that specializes in automotive internet sales, BDCs, digital marketing, and social media, with a focus on improving dealership sales and profits. Notably, Kain Automotive was voted Best Internet Sales Training Company for the last 5 years in a row in the Dealer's Choice Awards by Auto Dealer Monthly magazine. David Kain has 20 years of extensive automotive retail experience and also co-founded FordDirect.com, a dealer factory-owned joint venture that provides the internet leads to Ford and Lincoln dealers. David is an active speaker at many industry events, including NADA conventions, state association workshops, digital dealer conferences, and manufacturer training conferences, as well as numerous 20 groups, and he can be reached at david@kainautomotive.com. Now, during the presentation, if you have any questions, please use the question feature located on the corner of your screen to submit them. At the end of the presentation, we'll answer those questions of general interest. If we're unable to get to your question live, don't worry, we'll try to respond to you later today. Also, don't forget, a link to download a copy of this webinar recording will also be emailed to you later today for your reference, and please feel free to share it with friends and colleagues. And guess what? Our good friends at Kain Automotive are giving away an amazing prize today on the webinar. One of you lucky webinar attendees is going to win 1 month of free access to Kain University Online. It's a prize valued at $895, so you don't want to miss it. Please stick around, and when you can, we're going to be giving you instructions on how you can win this amazing prize today. You have to be on the live broadcast to win it, though, so hopefully we will do that at the very end of David Kain's presentation. Also, at the conclusion of the webinar, you're going to receive a short survey. Please fill it out because we're always looking for quality feedback from our audience. Today we're going to randomly select a couple of people from all of our completed surveys to win some Google prizes. So let's get started. Attention Internet Managers, we're ready to learn 6 steps for immediate success. David Kain, how are you?
I'm doing very good, Eliana, and I'm actually glad I'm not in Las Vegas, and imagine you're going to have a good recovery this weekend.
I certainly hope so, that's for sure. It looks like I might have skipped a slide. I do apologize. I did skip a slide. I definitely want to mention that Kain Automotive is going to be hosting this wonderful automotive digital workshop. If you've never been there, well, this year is the 10th anniversary of that workshop. And I'm so proud to announce also that the EVP and co-founder of Dealer On, Amir Amirzvani, is going to be there. And he's going to be talking about mastering the art and science of website conversion. So I apologize for skipping over that slide, but I wanted to make sure I mentioned this very important event. If you can make it out to Lexington, Kentucky, November 10th through the 12th, I hope you catch that speaking session, and I certainly hope you enjoy a wonderful event by Kain Automotive. So I apologize for that. Let's go back to the beginning of the slide. Now, I got to tell you, we have a ton of people who've registered for this webinar, so a lot of people are looking forward to finding out these 6 important steps for immediate success. Now, just so we're clear, this presentation is really geared for people who are just beginning as internet managers, but it is applicable to anybody who's in the internet manager role. Is that correct?
That's correct. And so every year since we've started our company 11 years ago, we've tried to give advice to those who are just promoted to the internet or the BDC manager role. And it works really well, and even those who are kind of in a relaunch type phase, because in the auto industry we go through a lot of relaunches, and if you look at the internet as it's a 20-year-old, so to speak, or approaching its 20th year for automotive, we've probably gone through at least 20 relaunches. So this will be applicable for everyone, and certainly helpful for those, just as a reminder of those key tenets of success. So I'll go through all that in good detail.
Excellent. And audience, if you'd like to tweet out today anything from today's broadcast, please do so. Use the hashtag DealerOnWebby. And if you could also key in Kain Automotive at Kain Automotive, we'd really appreciate it. We'd love to see what you have to say. So David, why don't we get started? What are the kinds of things we're going to be learning?
All right. So the objectives today are to learn unexpected methods to ensure success. So there will be some things that people say, oh, yeah, I got that, and that certainly makes sense. But there are some things that I think will be good moments to where you'll have some recognition. Additionally, learn why managers' expectations are critical to your success, even though managers are critical oftentimes, but having high expectations generally brings out the best in us. And then learn why watching consumer behavior is essential. So we'll get into great details on all of those, and then you'll lead our Q&A at the end of the session and hopefully cover anything that we left on the floor while we were going through.
Yes, audience, if you have any questions during the time of David's presentation, please send them on in. We're going to cover as many of those as we can, and David is a wealth of knowledge, so you don't want to miss out, all right? David, please get started.
Excellent. So the first area I want to talk about is identifying expectations. So let's just say some of you all probably within the last few days have gone through a conversation with a dealer principal, general manager, or supervisor in your dealership, and they said, oh, by the way, our internet manager is leaving and we need you to step into that role. Or hopefully better than the old days where they said, oh, you like computers, why don't you become the internet manager? And what works well, and when you step into these roles, and a lot of times we've been told that we should accept any initiatives that are laid in front of us by our managers, because they typically are the next rung in the ladder on that climb to success. However, if you start out and the manager hasn't clearly identified their expectations and more specifically identified what they view as successful accomplishment in those roles, then you're probably going to tread water for a long period of time, and then it becomes a subjective review whether or not you're successful. So in the absence of your manager coming forth and saying, oh, we're introducing you to this role, we hope you'll accept it, here's our expectations for success, it's important for you, in the absence of that, to outline your own vision and goals for the department, and then get your leadership team to endorse them right away. And my guess is that a lot of you all walked into this role without clear expectations. So, whether it's your management vision or whether it's your own vision, what we found is most managers have a general view as to what they think they want out of the department, and it might go something like provide an exceptional customer experience, both online and offline, that motivates customers to purchase vehicles, parts, and services at a fair market price, allowing us to generate a profit that sustains our business. Now that's a pretty succinct vision that encompasses an awful lot, but going in without understanding why is a really risky proposition for you raising your hand and accepting this responsibility, because the position has grown dramatically. And we utilize a tool called a roles and responsibilities checklist whenever we go to work with dealerships who are interested in this, and we circulate the roles and responsibilities checklist around the key managers. And the nice thing about that is it's almost like a menu of services, and it says to the managers, here's all the things the internet/BDC operation can do. What do you want us to do? What do you deem successful? And then it's important to weave all those expectations together and literally create a job description. So a job description should be born from the expectations and the successful achievement of the vision that management and you agree to. So should you be interested, I'd be glad to provide you a copy of the roles and responsibilities checklist that you can leverage in your own store. You can just send me an email and I'll be glad to provide that to you. But we think that's a good starting point in designing what the expectations are for the managers. And we just recently went through the same exercise with a auto group that we work with. And the operations director for the group was concerned that people weren't following the job description. And during an exercise that took place, sure enough, the managers recognized that their expectations were different than what the expectations were of the employees in the internet manager's role. So it became a great getting on the same page type exercise, and then facilitated an opportunity for the manager, the general manager, and the internet manager to move forward in lockstep so that they understood what each other was expecting out of the role. So keep that in mind, and as I said, I'd be glad to provide that to you if it would be a good tool for you. When you talk about
yes,
management...
I'm sorry, David, I just want to remind the audience, if you want that roles and responsibilities checklist, please email David Kain directly at david@kainautomotive.com. Thank you so much.
Excellent. So let's go through some typical management goals that we see and we help create. The first one is generally to have a good lead volume. So that doesn't necessarily mean to have an artificially high one. Oftentimes managers and internet managers in dealerships feel as though lead volume is a real good indicator of opportunity. And what we're finding is, and we'll discuss it more when we get into the individual part of this presentation, balancing the workload, but when we think in terms of we've got to have more leads to be successful, that's not necessarily a parallel equation, because when you have too many leads, customers tend to get dropped and the process tends to get truncated or shortcut, and then customers are left behind and opportunities are left. And customers nowadays, when they aren't serviced properly, they take it out online and your reputation suffers. So it's important to agree on what's an appropriate lead volume and establish what your capabilities are as a team. And as I said, we'll talk more about balancing that workload in just a bit. Also, kept appointments is a really key performance indicator. And what we like to do is look at kept appointments as a % of total leads. Now, a lot of people really focus on made appointments, and that goes without saying. You can't have a kept appointment unless you have a made appointment. What we've learned is made appointments sometimes are wishing and hoping metrics. And we want to get away from wishing and hoping metrics. We want to get into the real deal, which is getting people to come in the door. So focus on what that percentage should be. And as a good guide, our learnings teach us that if you're working with internet leads of regular quality, not say the premier quality or the poor quality, but those that are regular quality on balance, you should be able to get 25% of those people to show up as kept appointments. Additionally, what you'll find is if you have inbound telephone calls, our expectations and our experience has shown that our best performing dealers will get about 35% of those people to come in as kept appointments. So internet leads, 25% would be a good goal. Internet phone calls, 35% would be a good goal. And then sold as a % of kept appointments. And this is where, depending on whether you're working with A to Z format as a structure, or you're working with appointment setters and a BDC or some other similar structure or hybrid, sold as a % of kept can get really knocked sideways if you don't have a good handoff to the sales floor. So getting management to greet the customers when they come in for their appointment will really drive this up. Making sure the red carpet is rolled out and the customer feels wonderful about it. makes all the difference in the world. So our goal in this regard, a minimum of 50% should be sold as a percent of kept. That means half of all the people that come in your door as a kept internet appointment should buy a car. And it may take a few trips in to do that, but overall, on average, you should sell 50% of those people. Best performers we see close around 80%. And sometimes what we see is when that sold percentage is so high, unfortunately, the kept appointment percentage sometimes is too low. So if we get just the real buyers in the door who are really laying down and ready to buy, our sold rate goes way up. But what we've got to do is look for the balance and get more people who are on the fence in the door. And that's why the 25 to 35% is a good gauge for that.
Now,
Additionally,
David, I was going to say, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Please.
We had a couple people who wrote in who wanted some clarification on the 25% rule again. For instance, Kevin, he said 25% kept versus made appointments, or 25% versus total leads.
Yeah, so right up there on the side, it's important, and I want to make sure I've got that clarification because it's kept percentage of total leads, kept appointment percentage of total leads, because kept as a percent of made, and I want to go back to echo that point I made earlier, is we think a lot of appointments that are logged are kind of wishing and hoping appointments. Imagine a manager comes in, and Thursday's a perfect day for this. Managers will come in today all over the United States, and they're going to say, we need some appointments. And they're going to scream and shout and maybe throw cups or whatever, and the team will run out and they'll go get some appointments. Now, whether they're real appointments or not doesn't really matter. The manager just wants to hear, hey, boss, we got some appointments coming. We call those wishing and hoping appointments or passive fire appointments, and they don't really count in our opinion. So what we're looking for is to get right to the brass tacks of the situation and kept appointments as a percent of total lead. So looking at those metrics, we'd like to get 25% of your total leads to show up as a kept appointment. And if it's an internet phone call, we'd like to get 35% in that, in.
Okay.
Now, coupling
so,
that, go ahead.
Rodney wrote in, he said, so 100 appointments shown should result from 400 leads.
Bingo. Rodney is awesome.
Okay.
that mathematics will get us on internet leads. If we get 25% in and we sell 60%, we'll have an overall close rate of 15%. Now you look at the national averages, and we have the privilege of seeing a lot of those, and it's typically 8 to 10% close rate. So you can nearly double your close rates if you'll create an appointment culture and really get to the point where that customer feels great. And I want to do a little quick sidebar and talk a little bit about communication tactics. And I'm personally shopping for a car myself right now, and I love to do that because it reinvigorates me on the right communication tactics and process and such. And what's great about it is I get to find all the things that just drive customers crazy. And the number one thing we hear, or number one thing I witness just as a consumer is, hi, we got your lead, when can you come in? And there's no care, no concern. There's no, who's the lucky person, God, lucky you get to get a new car or a used car, whatever. It's always just about what can you do for me or when can you get in here. Customers don't want to get in here. They want to be serviced, as do I. And I think the better we take care of our customers, the higher the chance are that they're going to show up. So if you break down your process and you're having a difficult sequence of events to get people in the door, go back and see whether or not you're really helping them or if you're just trying to help yourself out. Additionally, your gross average per vehicle from internet, and I'm thinking about management goals. A lot of your managers are working under the misperception that internet leads need to be giveaway deals. And you hear that on the floor all the time. I hear it whenever I'm in dealerships doing consulting. And the fact of the matter is your internet leads and your internet phone calls should average right at or shade better than your floor gross. So the only reason you would be Below that is if your process and your tactics are just formulated to give cars away because you fear if you don't, someone else might skeet your deal out from under you. Simply not true. Great process, great tactics. You'll have excellent grosses that will help you sustain your business over time. And of course, your gross total. Your management really looks at that as a good indicator. So you can go to your manager and say, oh, boss, we had a great day. Our bounce rate was low. Our conversion rate was high. Our pay-per-click dollars are this, and SEO was this. Our VDPs were that, and our SRPs were this. They start to lose track. Your managers work off gross total. And what you want to do is to always focus on a good return on investment and pay close attention to meeting what their gross expectations are. And of course, taking your cost away from your digital marketing gives you the gross profit. So one really important piece of advice I want to give to new internet managers and those who are existing internet managers, I oftentimes hear from them, well, you know, I don't get access to gross, I don't get access to costs, I just work leads and I get people in the door. Well, that might have worked 10 years ago, but nowadays your managers have a higher expectations. In fact, great internet managers that I knew 10 years ago are now general managers in dealerships, and they learned important factors around gross profit and creating a P&L or a profit and loss statement for your internet operation. So I can absolutely assure you, when you walk into your boss and you say, here's our close rate, here's our this, here's our that, and then you end the conversation with them, we made a gross profit of X, their admiration level will go sky high. So make sure you get access to all that information and get to the point where you're showing a profit to your manager, and then you're going to get a nicer computer screen, you'll get that tablet you've been jonesing for, you might even get a wonderful chair to sit in so you're more comfortable during the workday.
Okay, so David, a little bit more clarification on the overall close rate. Celeste wrote in, so if you have 400 leads, that should equal 100 appointment shows. So we should get 50 cars sold from that?
Well, my hope would get 60 cars sold, and then you'll get a 15% close rate.
Oh,
so
okay,
50,
out of 400 leads, okay.
Yeah, so 50% of kept appointments would be admirable. You do great. That would, if you sold half of the people that you kept appointments with, that'd be a great job.
Yeah.
But the industry leaders out there are closing 60% or greater when they come in, and it all has to do with how early you get the manager involved when the customer shows up, how prepared your team is. Just to kind of give you a good visual example, when I drive into a dealership and I see VIP parking for internet customers, when I see a mirror dangler hanging in the car that I was shopping for, and it says, this vehicle being held for David Kain, VIP customer. And then I walk in and the receptionist says, oh, Mr. Kain, we've been expecting you. Here's John, he's going to work with you. And then Mary, his manager, comes over and says, David, thank you so much for coming in. John told me that you were coming in. My name is Mary, and I'm going to be the manager helping you with this as well. We're so excited you're here. And you can imagine when I give you that visual, if that's not happening at your dealership, that's a real good indicator of what could happen and why your close rate when somebody comes in could really go sky high. Customers want to know that they're welcome.
That would be an awesome idea. I would love that if I came into a dealership and saw that.
Excellent. And it can happen. We've got plenty we can send you to right now, and I hope the people on this webinar feel similar, that they can create that same environment. So let's go to the first poll question if we can, Ileana. This might help us out.
Absolutely. Okay, audience, we're going to ask for your participation in these poll questions. It's our way of getting you involved in the presentation. And this is your first of six poll questions today. So your speed in answering these questions is greatly appreciated. Okay, so your first poll question is on the screen now. And it is, when you came into the Internet or BDC manager role, did your manager outline the dealership or group expectations? This is a simple one. Is it yes or No. Once we get a majority of those votes in, we'll close this poll and we'll share the results. When you came into the Internet or BDC manager role, did your manager outline the dealership or group expectations? Yes or no? We'll let this go on for a couple more seconds, then we'll close this poll and share the results. David, are you ready for this? Oh my goodness, I'm watching the votes come in. Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay. I'll tell you what, let's close this poll and share the results. Audience, thank you so much for being amazing and for participating in this poll question. Got 5 more coming your way in just a bit, so please sit tight and get those fingers and mouses moving and going. Okay, here we go. Let's close this poll, share the results. So David, 46% of today's audience said yes, their manager did outline the dealership or group expectations. But the majority, 54%, said no. That conversation never happened. David?
Yeah, so that kind of is the way auto dealerships are run to a large degree. And for those who are blessed to have the 46% who said yes, thank goodness, and hopefully you walked into clear expectations of what success really looked like. If you don't, now it's important to leverage some of what we've talked about today and start creating your own vision and goals and pass those on for management endorsement. They'll certainly appreciate the guidance from you.
Yeah,
now the next area we want to cover are identifying resources. And these would be the tools that you use and of course generating quality leads and calls. So first off, when we talk about tools, the number one thing that you need to have is a quality CRM. And a lot of you all are in a situation where you're under contract and you might not have a preference. You came from one dealership and you liked one CRM and now you're burdened with the one that you've got. And what we always say is the fact is Tiger Woods could beat me with an old pair of clubs that were from the 50s. And if I were playing with the most modern advanced technology, it's really the users. So any CRM that we've ever seen works fine. And yet there are different levels of quality. So once you get to that point to where your contract is waning with the one that you might not prefer, it's important to make note of what the opportunities are in the market and then put your own stamp of approval on the tool that you want to go with. And when you look at the tools that are available today, the advancements in socializing and being able to understand consumer behavior are dramatic. But at the end of the day, what you put into it is what your team will get out of it. And so quality CRM with quality supervision is really the key. Equity mining software. So when we look at progressive internet and BDC operations, more specifically BDC operations, business development centers, it's all about maintaining your current customer base. So we're always sitting here saying, got to have more leads, got to have new leads, got to have new opportunities. Well, what's old is good, and building on that loyal customer base is really essential to your success. Texting and the legalities around that are really, really critical. So I love CRM tools that provide that framework so that we can text through an opt-in type relationship, and then whatever is texted back and forth goes right into the notes in the CRM. So we love those kind of opportunities. And if you don't have that in your current CRM, don't cry over spilled milk. Get a texting tool that's legal, that protects your dealership from any kind of criticism from the government, and let's start communicating at the rate that the customers really want to. It's wonderful to send text pictures and videos of the car. Well, I've been shopping these last 2 weeks. A lot of great salespeople have gone to the effort to go with their own smartphone at my request and send me a video or pictures of the car or some sort of technical detail I was asking about. Additionally, having video capabilities, whether it be desktop, utilizing a tool like iJot or CoVideo, it is important for you to be able to communicate back and forth with the customer. With the smartphone that you've got in your hand, you've got more computing power than I had when I got my first computer. That was a huge desktop years and years ago, so you really do have all kinds of capability in that little smartphone that you've got. And I also want to talk about recruiting for these roles, and when you have people on your team that say, well, you know, I'd have a smartphone if the dealership would buy it. That's probably not a good candidate for this position. What you're looking for in this role when it comes to staffing and them bringing their own tools to it, salespeople surprisingly get frustrated when the dealership doesn't provide a PIN, whereas the technicians in the back are spending thousands of dollars every year on their tools. I think it's important for salespeople to make the same type of investment, and it's important for internet managers to have that expectations and to say, if you're going to work in my department, we're expecting you to bring first quality tools in. Now, when it comes to tablets, I'm totally comfortable with dealerships providing those, and I believe you'll find that when you look at the close rate on the floor after customers have come in, or even if they haven't come in from internet leads, but they've just been influenced by the internet, when the salesperson can walk out with a tablet and have inventory at their fingertips literally, it really takes the quality of the communications way up, and it builds confidence with the consumer. So those are the kind of tools you would want to physically have. And then, of course, moving into quality leads and calls, and I always like when I'm on the Dealer On website and that pop-up comes up and says, you know, can your website provider guarantee you leads, and you have that yes or no. And in order to get past it, you have to say, yes, I want more quality leads, or no, I don't want more quality leads. I think it's important for all of us to know we live and die by quality leads and calls in this operation. So I think it's critical when you design your expectations with your managers to have a progressive marketing budget, and not just a substitute of traditional media, but literally your own budget, so that you're in a position to where you know as the manager, if I spend this kind of money, we're going to get this kind of results. And I would negotiate with my manager to have responsibility for that budget, as opposed to always having to go back and beg, beg, beg. I would like you to have a dollar amount so that you know month in and month out that you, as a valuable manager and leader of that team, knows what you're going to spend and how you're going to do that. Then we get into things that are more tangible, like an effective website, making sure that it converts at a high rate, having a search budget that follows the customer through the buying cycle, letting you do online classified placement for your used vehicles, generating new vehicle lead sources through any number that are out there available in the marketplace. And then, of course, a data marketing program so that you can keep up with the customers, and an equity mining program to tag team with the software that we talked about earlier. That's how we get quality leads and calls, through a combination of all of those factors. Now, Ileana, if we could, let's go to the second poll question.
Excellent. All right, audience, here it is on your screen. Please participate. The question is, do you feel like you currently have the proper tools and quality leads and the calls necessary to have exceptional success? Please select one of the following answers. Again, another easy one is a yes or no. Do you have the proper tools, leads, and calls necessary for you to have exceptional success? Once we get a majority of these votes, we'll close the poll and we'll share the results. And David, have I told you lately how much I love my audience? They are slamming these questions so quickly. Audience, thank you so much. The votes are coming in so fast. And we're going to be closing up this poll in just, wow. I love how fast this stuff is happening. This is great. You guys are awesome today. Thank you so much. Okay, let's close this poll and share the results. David, are you ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go. I don't know if you're going to like this. Okay, the majority, 69% of today's audience said yes. They do feel like they currently have the proper tools, leads, and calls necessary to have success. But 31% said no. So basically that's a third of today's audience. You have to wonder if that's happening all across, you know, the nation like that, that a full third of our internet managers aren't getting everything that they need so that they can have proper success. David, your comments?
Well, actually, I'm impressed. I think that's great, and I think that goes to show how far things have progressed in the industry, and it shows that dealerships are not afraid to invest in this kind of technology and tool to drive success. And now it's up to this group of internet managers to earn the right to take it on to the next level. So I'm really thrilled with that response.
Oh, great. All right. Let's keep
move
going.
on to the third item we want to cover today, and that is outline your lead handling process. And there's a lot to be said for visuals. And when you go into as many internet operations as I've been in, you just don't see enough that really shows what your process is. So we love to see the remnants of a planning session where you've had the team in there on a whiteboard, and they've said when the lead comes in, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and then the manager's going to do this, and we're going to send this information. We would love to see you outline your lead handling process. So, you know, what we've done with our clients is we've kind of mapped out what we call the push, then the press, and then the nurture. And what it affords the teams to understand in a visual capacity is this is what's happening. And a lot of times people will say, well, it's in the CRM tool, so, you know, all you have to do is just follow your next task. Well, that's kind of like that old story of, you know, you walk up to the wall and you see people working on it, and one of them says, when you ask them what they're doing, they say, I'm laying brick. The other says they're building a wall, and the other says, I'm building a cathedral. So your team needs to understand what they're building. And if you can involve them in designing your lead handling process, then they will walk out, sign into their CRM, and then have a different viewpoint of why we're doing what we're doing and what the outcomes are. So, you know, if you're interested, of course, this is a webinar you'll be able to download. You're more than welcome to duplicate a process that we've been updating with our clients based on results for 11 years now. And it's all about getting the high connection rate, getting the high appointment rate, and of course the kept appointment rate, which drives success. So, and then after 2 weeks, if we're unable to get in touch with the customer, or if we do get in touch and they don't buy, we move into a nurture marketing phase. So wherever you are in your process, whether you've adopted a process or you went with the one that was your CRM, what I would encourage you to do is get a clean sheet of paper, whiteboarded, take your old process and put it up there on the wall, draw it out, get your team to critique it, and then update it. If you're brand new and you don't have anything designed, I would map something out and make sure that your team participates so that they know where they're going. So I'd like to move into the next poll question if we can, Eliana, and we'll ask about this very thing.
Fantastic. Question's already up on your screen, audience, so please check it out. The question is, how long does your lead handling process currently follow up with your prospects? Please select one of the following, or one that closely assimilates, you know, what's happening at your dealership. 10 days, 30 days, 90 days, 120 days, until they buy or unsubscribe, or as somebody else in the auto industry once said to me, until they die. So, or forever. So how long does your lead handling process currently follow up with your prospects? 10 days, 30 days, 90 days, 120 days, or, you know, whenever, until they buy or unsubscribe or kick the bucket. All right, so once we get a majority of these votes, we'll close the poll, we'll share these results, and you will know what's happening all across the nation, this good nation of ours, in other dealerships. And thank you so much, audience, for getting involved. This is our third of 6 poll questions, so we do have a few more coming your way. And I'll give you another couple seconds to answer this, but I gotta say, I'm surprised at the answers, David. We need to do this. All right, let's close this poll and share the results. I hope you guys are all ready for this. All right, so we'll start at the top. 8% of today's audience said that their follow-up process only lasts 10 days. Another 8% said that they go up to 30 days. 28% of today's audience said that their follow-up process lasts 90 days. 19% said that they go as long as 120 days. And the majority, 37% of today's audience, well, they pick the last option until they buy or unsubscribe forever. They're on our list. David, what's the right answer?
Clearly, the 37% are in the right as far as I'm concerned, because we end up buying the same leads over and over again because we give up on these prospects. And what nurture marketing is all about, Ileana, is to make sure that we throw something out there that's interesting to the customer. So what we love about Twitter is Twitter allows us to literally get all kinds of great information that we can dovetail into our follow-up process. So whether it's going in and searching for terms like product launches or safety updates or anything that's interesting, then we create an email and we send it out there in a blast based on the different customers. YouTube is chock full of new video reviews of products and items that would be interesting to the customer. So there's really no excuse for throwing something out there that's interesting to the customer on an ongoing basis. So, rather than rewrite those checks for the same leads over and over again, take care of them through your nurture marketing and wow those customers with how concerned you are with them. Now let's talk about balancing your team workload. And this is something that as you mature as a manager gets to be more and more of a struggle. And as the picture would indicate, we do a lot of juggling in this business. And there's very seldom that we see people who have really just one item in their job description. But there are some rule of thumb guides that I've thrown up on the screen, and it's changed over time. As lead quality goes up, depending on your structure, and if your structure is A to Z salespeople who receive the lead and then work it all the way to where the customer buys a car, we're finding that for the best productivity, they need to work with between 60 and 80 leads. Now, if you do the quick math on that and you say, well, a 15% close rate, that's not many cars. Well, I learned this early on that we abandoned so many prospects over the time, and we've really abandoned repeat and referral customers. So what we're looking for from A to Z salespeople is over time, they really depend less and less on fresh leads, and they nurture their ongoing database so that they're in a position to where they can let the new hires handle the fresh customers or the fresh leads, and they really just grow their business through that. I love this young man that I work with in the Tucson, Arizona market. He called me up a few weeks ago and he said, or a few months ago, and he said, can you introduce me to salespeople who sell 50 cars a month, because I need to learn what the cadence is and what the processes are for me to be able to do that. I'm at 30 and I'm starting to get a little overwhelmed, so I need some help there. And I was like, whoa, this is exactly what I'm looking for. And when you have that kind of repeat and referral volume, you do need to make sure you've got the proper amount of leads coming in. Now, when it comes to appointment setters, whether you're in a BDC or you're working in an internet department, we're looking for 125 to 150 leads. And Ileana, I'm sad to say that sometimes we go in and appointment setters are working 500 and 600 leads a month. And there's just no way at that kind of volume that people are in a position where they can have really good quality interaction. And also hear this, they got to make 100 phone calls a day, and that's what it's all about. Well, in the car business, it's a good combination of process and tactics, or utilizing other words, science for process and art for tactics. It's hard to be artful when we're working at that kind of pace, and people burn out really quick. So I'll talk about what my guys are for that here in just a moment. And then if you've got a split role salesperson, we like between 30 and 40 leads, and no more than 40 and no fewer than 30, so that it matters. 40 allows them to max out. 30 allows them to make sure that every day they've probably got somebody to work with. And then when we talk about task completion expectations, when we design our follow-up process and we design all those tasks that load every day in our CRM, we have to agree with our team what are quality tasks instead of those throwaway. So a good indicator is start looking at what day your team gives up or what tasks they abandon, and then get rid of those tasks and really focus on those that they're excited about, that they believe in, and really hone in on that. And if we have 100% quality task, we can have 100% completion expectation, and that affords us to sit here and say, look, every day we need to complete 50 tasks. Now your CRM might only give you 10, but you need to go find 40 more. And I sold cars myself right there on the lot at our family's Ford dealership here in Versailles, Kentucky. And to be honest with you, had I not done my own daily tasks, sent cards, letters, and made phone calls, I wouldn't have sold as many cars as I did. And the whole key is not waiting for the CRM to coach you and make you do this, but to literally be out there looking for opportunities on your own. So let's move to the fourth poll question, if we could.
Sorry, I was on mute. What's wrong?
All
right. Okay, the next question is on your screen now. Do you feel like your team's workload is in balance? Do you feel like your team's workload is in balance? Simple question. Yes or no? Once we get a majority of these votes in, we'll close this poll and we'll share the results. Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention to you that during the last question, we did have a number of people who wrote in and said that their follow-up process is 1 year. It's literally 365 days. I didn't realize that people were doing that too. That sounds like pretty good too. But, oh, you know what? We have a majority of the votes in. I guess we should get on with this. Okay, let's close this poll and share the results. Audience, you guys are so good today. Thank you for being so quick and so good on this. Let's close this poll, share the results. Okay, 55% of today's audience said, yeah, they think their team's workload is in balance, and 45% said no. David?
That's great. It just goes to show that we've got a mature audience and certainly probably more people who have learned over time that the right balance provides the better results. So I'm thrilled to hear. And for those who don't feel like they're in balance, have those meetings with your team, map out what your tasks are, and agree that if we are going to have these tasks, let's make sure that we actually complete them, and then they'll do a better job of doing that. Now, the fifth area is developing product knowledge experts. And I want to add the other word, process knowledge. So it's important for your team to be smart. And it was really commonplace early on where appointment setters in particular in the internet department were told, oh, don't worry about the product. It really doesn't matter. Just get them in, get them in, get them in. And if they ask about the product, say, oh, I don't deal with that, just get them in. Well, what we're finding is there's a lot of great tools that are out there available, and whether it's a car story app or an app that you find available out there on the marketplace through your manufacturer, there's some really great apps that provide orientation to your team, and you actually can just have screens up on the computer when you're getting ready. So the beauty of internet leads is you have 2 or 3 minutes before you have to react, learn about the product, and that way when you contact the customer, what we found is how much you know really tells the customer how much you care. And when we listen to phone calls and repeatedly we have internet or BDC people say, I don't know about that car. I work with 7 or 8 brands and I really don't know. Let me get an expert. And then you hear the expert get on the phone and they don't know about it either. Customers really get frustrated, and I think it's imperative that you create a culture of product and process knowledge. So when questions come about like, how do I get financing? How do I appraise my trade? Just personally, I was working with a dealership long distance, and I have a trade-in that I'm trying to negotiate. And I spoke to the used car manager, and he says, well, this kind of sounds like a flaky deal. I'm not used to customers wanting to know what their trade is worth before they come in the dealership. And I about fell out of the chair. And it's so appropriate now for your customers to say to you, how do you appraise my trade, and leverage that opportunity to get a kept appointment. But customers will fish around. CarMax is out there saying, we'll buy your car no matter, whether you buy from us. The trade-in marketplace tool will actually give a guaranteed value with a certificate on the vehicle if it's been explained properly. So we need to modernize and get our team really up to speed on that. So I would like to ask another poll question. So if we could, Ileana?
Yes, sir. Let's launch this fifth poll question. And the question's on the screen for you now. The question is, how often do you require your team to learn about new products and inventory changes? Now, there's lots of answers here, so please select one. Is it never, daily, weekly, or monthly? How often do you require your team to learn about new products and inventory changes? Please select one of the following answers: never, daily, weekly, or monthly. And then once we get a majority of those votes, we'll close the poll and share the results. And the votes are coming in fast. Audience is great today. David, your presentation is astounding. Thank you so much. And we do have, I just want to let you know, David, amazing questions coming in from the audience. A ton of great questions. So audience, I hope you're in to sit down and listen to the great David Kain as he chops away at all of your questions that you've been writing in. And let's get to this poll question, all right? Let's share the results.
Ridiculous. Okay.
I'm not even kidding how many questions you have, David. I mean, I really wish I was. I can't even count. There's so many. All right. 11% of today's audience said never. 38% said daily. 30% said weekly. And 22% said monthly. So I'm curious, I'm sure everyone else is, David, how often should we require our team to learn about new products and inventory changes? What's the correct answer?
Well, the correct answer is truly daily. And when people drive onto the lot, when they get ready to go up into their BDC, there really should be time spent walking around the lot. If you're a salesperson, there should be a daily walk lot. Now with technology, with the ability to identify new arrivals in the dealership, it's really important. And it's so funny, and the reason why I like this question is we forget that the only reason we're having dialogue with these prospects is the vehicle. It's not because you won a chairman's award or you're the top-ranked dealer-rated dealer or anything of that nature. It's because you have a car, truck, SUV, or van that they're interested in. And when you show them how much you care by showing them how much you know, it really helps them out. And, of course, you want to be deferential to the customer and always pat them on the back for their product knowledge, but they're also looking for an expert. So when you see the chat icon on websites, I'd rather take the word chat off of the website and put click to chat with an expert or get expert help, so that we really are in a position where customers feel as though we're great at what we do. When I walk into a stereo or an electronics store or a computer store, I don't want to walk up to a clerk and they say, well, I just started today. I don't really know much about anything, and my boss doesn't care enough, how much I know, and that's why they've thrown me already onto the floor. We need to have some pride in what we do and what we sell. I love working with this Capistrano VW out in California, and so many of their employees drive what they sell. And they have a lot of pride in saying, this is my fifth one or this is my third one, and it really means a lot to the customer. So please, please, please focus on giving that knowledge and that understanding of the process to your team and build their wealth of knowledge. I'd rather have smart employees who know when to hush up than to have employees who really don't care and always have to say, well, let me see if I can find that for you. So keep that in mind. So the other thing that really goes in parallel to this, and the sixth area I really want to comment on, and this goes to, these are not necessarily conventional pathways to success, but these are the way that we've found you can really have immediate and long-term success. And the sixth one is to click where your customer clicks. It is really important for you to experience what it's like to go on to search, type in a typical term, type in whatever you'd be typing in if you were the customer, go into an auto trader environment, go into your own website, see what your specials are, see how your inventory is displayed, see whether or not you put the pricing. All of those things that your customers pay attention to, you want to make sure that you can say, oh, yes, I know exactly what you mean. When I was on that website, here's what my experience was. So we like to encourage you to take digital field trips, literally on a big screen in your training room. Put your website up, take your team through it, put their hand on the mouse, let them click around, have an activity to where through the week, have the team members go out and research an auto trader or cars.com or a TrueCar or a Dealex or some other website, so that the customer experience is really crystallized in their brain, and then have them explain, here's what it was like when I clicked on Edmund's TrueCar or True Price Promise or the KBB website, and then be able to say to the customer, I know exactly how you feel. When I was on that website, I really like this information. So gear up, take some digital field trips, and make sure your team is up and ready to go. Tag team to that is to create your own team's lead source response guide. And we do this with and for our customers, and it's important for us to help create this so that we understand how to respond to every type of lead source based on the customer's expectations. And I can absolutely assure you that a customer who came from Automotive or a customer who came from TrueCar or Auto Trader has clearly different expectations. The questions are different. If they clicked on a coupon, if they clicked on a $25 for a test drive, they all have different viewpoints. And if you can't have experienced that firsthand and you haven't created a guide to coach your team, take the time to look at each of your lead sources and say, what's the behavior this customer experienced on that website? What were their expectations? And here's how, as a manager, I want you to respond appropriately. So when people say to me, Liana, that we treat every lead exactly the same, I cringe, because a customer who wants their vehicle traded in versus a customer who wants a $25 gas coupon is totally different, and we need to make sure we're respectful of that. And this lead source response guide that you can create really is a wonderful learning aid for your team, and it provides great ammunition for your training classes going forward every week of the year. So now we'll move on to the last poll question, if we could.
Yes, sir. All right, audience, another easy one for you. How often do you take your team on digital field trips? Please select one of the following answers. Is it weekly, monthly, quarterly, or never? How often do you take your team on digital field trips? Once we get a majority of the votes, we'll close this poll and share the results. Digital field trips. I'd never heard of that before, David, but since you explained it, now it makes sense. So is it weekly, monthly, quarterly, or never? Audience, I want to thank you so much for being so involved in today's presentation and getting those votes in. You guys have been awesome today. And like I said earlier, we have some amazing questions that already came in from you, our valued audience. So if you haven't asked your question yet, please send it on in. We're going to be getting to the Q&A session very, very shortly. All right, David, are you ready to see the answers to this last poll question?
You bet.
All right, let's close this poll and share the results. 21% of today's audience said that they do their digital field trips weekly. 8% said that they like them monthly. Another 8% said that they do it quarterly. But the majority, 64%, admit that they never do digital field trips. David?
Well, good opportunity, and it certainly is a wonderful way to prove to the customer that you understand what their experience was like. I love the old objection handling phraseology, feel, felt, and found, and it essentially goes, I know how you feel. When I was shopping for a car, I felt the exact same way, and I found that when I went to Kelley Blue Book or when I went to Edmunds.com or I went to my manufacturer's website or my own website. So if we can express that to the customer, it shows empathy. And then when we can really mean that we experienced it, or our team just went through a training session on what it was like to go to TrueCar or any of those variety of websites out there, that we can really partner up with the customer, and the customer really appreciates our effort of professionalism. So that wraps it up for that, and I want to just kind of highlight some key takeaways. The first thing I'd really emphasize is to know your dealership vision and goals. And if you don't have them, obviously create them. Outline your lead handling process. Get your team involved, and that will make all the difference in the world and their buy-in. But just a brief interaction on buy-in. It is important for you to know as a manager that I will buy in to what you want me to do if you buy into it. So a lot of people say, I can't get my team to buy in, which basically means you don't believe in it enough to make it the way it should be. Your team will follow your lead if you're a strong leader. I recommend that you balance your team workload, make sure the tasks are 100% quality, and then you can expect 100% completion. And of course, for the sake of your customer and for the dealership, I really see salespeople last longer, internet salespeople, BDC appointment setters last longer if they have the professionalism and they understand what it's like to be an expert on the products and the internet by taking the digital field trips to really feel great about what they're doing. So I just want to wrap it up and thank you very much, Ileana, and I'll turn it back over to you.
David, you are just amazing. I love having you on my show. And audience, if you haven't sent in your question yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. And now's the perfect time because we got a ton of great questions that already came in. So we're going to get to those in just a moment. But before we do that, well, guess what? It's that time. If you missed it at the beginning of our webinar, well, I announced that our good friends at Kain Automotive are giving away an amazing prize today on the webinar. That's right. One of you lucky webinar attendees is going to win 1 month of free access to Kain University Online, Kain Automotive University Online. David, why don't you show them that slide? This is an amazing prize for your dealership. You're going to get 1 free month. It's valued at $895. So, if you want to win this, all you got to do is answer a simple question about today's presentation. So get ready. First one to write in the correct response is going to be walking away with this amazing prize today. Good luck, everyone. I also want to caution our vendors who are sitting in on today's presentation, please sit this one out. This prize is only for dealership personnel who are interested in trying out this offering from Kain Automotive risk-free. We would definitely appreciate that. Okay, audience, here you go. I want to say good luck to all of you. Whoa, whoa. Everyone's already writing in the answer? Did I miss something? Oh, you posted the question. All right. Let's see.
I thought you said post the question. My apologies.
No, I didn't want you to post the question, but let's see who was the first one to write in the correct response. Our first person to write in the correct response was Lee Fogel. Oh boy, all of you were paying really great attention. Almost all of you got the correct answer. And the correct answer is 60 to 80. So what is the recommended monthly lead volume for A to Z salespeople? 60 to 80. Lee Fogel, you are our winner today. Congrats, dude. Let's see, I'm writing your name down. Lee, why don't you write on in and let us know what dealership you're from so we can give you a proper congratulations, of course. Oh, he's all up. Woot, woot. Okay, stop congratulating. Give me your dealership name. Of course, we want to thank all of our audience today for participating in all of our poll questions and, of course, in our giveaway, of course. And congratulations to Lee Fogel of Zimmer, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. You are our winner today. And, of course, we want to thank Kain Automotive for their incredible generosity. All right, David, if you're ready, let's get to some of these amazing questions from our audience, of which there are many, like I said. So here we go. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All
and
right.
Congratulations to Lee. Lee is one of the gentlemen that we trained, and so I'm really proud that he knew that answer right off bat and was quick to respond.
As am I. All right, let's go. First question comes to you from Ashley. And this was very, very early on in the presentation, all right, just so you know. Ashley wanted to know if you could give her your opinion on a good quality CRM. Now, I know you're going to try and be, you know, very politically correct, and I appreciate that. Now, David, please, could you put it on the slide with your contact information also?
Yes, sorry about that.
There you go. All right. So a lot of people wrote in, they want your opinion on things, and this is the very first one of those. So Ashley wants to know your opinion on a quality CRM.
Yeah, so Ashley, what we always like to say is that the best CRM is the one that you're under contract with, because if you are in a position like us and you say to the customer that we're working with, oh, the CRM that you have is terrible, they might have just signed up for a 5-year agreement. So I really want to couch that by saying the very best CRM is the one that your team is under contract with, particularly if you've got a long term before you're able to get out of it. But after that, we look at CRMs through a different light, and what we focus on is utilization by the team and support by the CRM provider. So when I first started out, the best CRM in the market was the Reynolds & Reynolds contact management tool, and it's still a pretty good tool, but it hasn't really been modernized to the level that we feel like would be essential, but it integrates wonderful with your overall dealership management system. Conventional CRMs that we have the majority of our customers working on are tools like Dealer Socket. I really like them. I like the ownership. I think they really care about their customers, and they've grown a lot, and sometimes there are service challenges, but you know, they're always attentive to what our needs are. The other CRM tools that we really love are eLead CRM. And what I love about eLead is I kind of grew up with those guys. They were the cookie company, and going back years and years ago, even our dealership used to utilize them to send out cookies to our customers. So I think their team is really spot on with their tool, and it's really been kept modernized. A great tool that a lot of people may not know about because they knew it early on because it was a good lead management tool, and actually one we highly recommended is iMagic Lab, and a lot of our clients are using iMagic Lab and getting great results from it. And then a very popular one in the marketplace, because it's probably the coolest, is the Vin Solutions tool. And Vin Solutions really built some forward-leaning software. They've got the greatest social engineering into it. So our recommendation is to kind of give them all a real good run. I also, you know, want to give a shout out to, you know, the ingenuity behind the dealer tools that are coming from other companies that you might want to consider, and just make sure that you don't overlook any of those new up-and-comers that are out in the marketplace, because it's a very intimate part of your process, and you want to make sure you get the right one.
Absolutely. Thank you for that very great answer. And by the way, a few people wrote in, they said David Kain for president because you're being so politically correct. All right, Ashley, great question. Next question comes to you from Elliot. Elliot says, what would be a good texting tool? Any brand you can recommend?
Well, so the best texting tool that comes through a CRM is the Socket Talk tool through Dealer Socket, but there are other tools that are out there. The ones that come through the phone, one thing that's important to make sure that you, guys, and I sound very parental on this, I would just make sure you don't utilize your own phone number when you're texting, because you could end up getting some errant text. And I've got 2 daughters, and if they were in the business, I wouldn't want them utilizing their number. I would use like that Pinger.com, the free tool. I would also utilize some of the tools that are out there that are coming up through the industry. So, you know, tools like offered through, gosh, my nephew has one that he leverages as well, and I hate to give that to you because it sounds so overt, but the company is called Dealer Target, and they have their own texting type tool. But there's a lot of them out there, but I would try to really get one that integrates cleanly with your CRM tool. I believe that would be the best way to go.
Thank you, Elliot. Great question. Okay, next question is from Katie. She says, what are a few good providers to get those quality leads in your experience? So who's your favorite lead provider?
Yeah, so it depends on your brand. So, the one that we really enjoy because they do a great job of scrubbing the leads is the Trilogy Smart Leads. But also love the work that Automotive is doing. They not only have acquired Auto USA, but they've done a really good job with respect to that. Surprisingly, and it's a bit controversial, we have a lot of dealers doing wonderful with TrueCar, and seem to think that's a good way to go. And I like what Seth and his team are doing over at Edmunds to improve those leads. But I believe those are going to take some time. I also like the KBB leads that are coming through. So all of them are great. Dealex does a wonderful job with their leads, and so all of them are good if you set them up right. And that's probably the biggest mistake that we see is you come in and you let the sales representative set your territory. If I could give you a good visual, let's just imagine we're looking at a bullseye, and then the center is 5 miles. And if you set your radius around your dealership to 5 miles, you're going to have a really high quality lead coming through. You won't have much volume, but you'll close a lot of them. And then every 5 miles you go out, let's say 10 miles, 15, 20, your lead close rate's going to drop appropriately as you go out. So when you develop your new car lead sourcing strategy, just be mindful that, if we do a 50-mile circle, you're probably going to have a really low close rate. It's good for conquesting if you want to grow into another market, but my advice is to stay really close to home and nurture your own market, and then strategically grow as your processes and your tactics improve.
Got you. All right, Katie, thanks you for your great answer. And I got to tell you, David, I love how thorough you're being, but we have got to pick up the pace because we're going to get to all these questions. Okay, Michael wrote in, is there any way to get these slides emailed to us? Why, yes, there is, Michael. I'm glad you asked. If you would, email me directly at eliana@dealeron.com. And I'm in Las Vegas at the Digital Dealer Convention, but eventually when I get back home, I will email them out to you, okay? It's eliana@dealeron.com. Thank you so much. Next question comes to you from Justin. He says he noticed that you have a 3-day gap in contact within the first 8 days. Is that effective for Kain Automotive? It seems like a large gap. I know you saw it on your slides.
It's a strategic pause, and what you have to realize is we're moving into marketing at that point. So the first 3 days are very much one-to-one personal communications, but after a while, customers get a little overwhelmed with the pace of us trying to say, come in, come in, come in. So when we strategically market and we hit them at the appropriate pace, customers feel as though we're giving them valuable information, and it's not just cramming junk at them. So yes, it works really well. If you've got engagement, you obviously need to communicate one-to-one, so it changes it. But if you follow that sequence, your team will do a greater job and they'll be more creative.
Got you. Great question, Justin. Next question comes to you, David, from Jeff. He would like to know your definition of a split role salesperson.
Yeah, so that's pretty easy. If you've got salespeople on the floor who that's their lifeblood, and then you have them handle leads, that would be a split role salesperson.
Oh, that was easy. All right, Jeff, if you have a follow-up question, please let me know. Your next question comes from Christy. She wants to know, okay, I should back that up. A lot of people had questions that came in when you were talking about the 50 tasks, all right?
Yes.
So, for instance, Jason wrote in, is asking each BDC agent to make 100 calls per day too much? Do you think that 50 tasks can be 1 call, 1 email, 1 text per customer? rather than 100 or 120 attempts total. So you break it down to contact 50 customers 3 times. That's from Jason. Now,
Yeah.
I mean, you can answer that one, but there's others that are kind of like that, where they're asking for your opinion on exactly what 50 tasks is.
Yeah, so what I'm looking for is to reduce that load from 100, because if you listen to the voicemails, if you listen to the live phone calls, and somebody has got somebody behind them pushing them hard and saying, get 100 done today, the quality is terrible. The emails are terrible. So what I'd rather do is focus on a daily 50 routine, and it's not 50 times 3 for 150, so call, an email, and a text, you'll wear your customer out. I'm talking more from a nurturing standpoint. Each day, we might only have 10, 15, 20 tasks that pop up in our CRM, and then we sit there and wait. And particularly if you're working in an A to Z type environment where salespeople make their living through follow-up, what I would love to see is small batch email campaigns. So, for example, today's the the Thursday right before the weekend. It'd be appropriate to send out an email blast to a real small subset of customers who've been shopping this month for, let's say, a Nissan Altima. So I go into my CRM, I pull out 5, 10, 15 customers who have shown an interest in this, and maybe I go to my manager and I say, is there anything I can offer to these customers? And then I maybe take a picture of a couple of cars, maybe go out and do a walk-around video, and I do very specific one-to-one type marketing, or what appears to be one-to-one marketing, to those customers. Additionally, I want to make 20 to 30 phone calls, and I want to leave a voicemail after every phone call, because it's all about timing and relevancy. And if you think in terms of most of your role, if you're an A to Z salesperson on the internet, is marketing. You say you're a salesperson, but you only get to sell when you motivate the customer. So the rest of the day needs to be spent on motivating the customer. So leave a great voicemail, send a text, send an email, drop a postcard in the mail, heck, hire kids to run door to door, whatever you've got to do, but make sure that you market yourself and your name so that customers understand and appreciate how hard you're willing to work for their business.
Ugh, I can't agree more. Okay, so you answered Jason's question so eloquently. Thank you. You also happened to answer a few other questions. For instance, Christy wanted to know, so 50 tasks is a good goal then. You said yes. Paul wanted to know, does tasks encompass phone calls and emails or just calls? So Paul, now we know. We're talking everything, quality responses to those people. We do have a few other people who wrote in about it. For instance, David, he said, since salespeople will almost always do the very least that they can, is it smart to tailor your tasks according to which ones the salespeople like? I don't know if that's the right response, but and then David also wrote in, he says, so 100 calls a day is too much? According to the metrics in my CRM, I have salespeople that somehow are making 8 to 10 calls to customers in a total of 2 minutes. I'm going to bet that maybe, just maybe, these calls aren't actually getting made. I guess I'm going to have to watch that. So do you have any other comments with regards to this magic number of 50 that you've given everyone?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like exercising, right? We sit here and we kid ourselves that we're going to exercise every day. And I read recently that maybe what we should do is just start with 1 push-up. And if you think in terms of where I'm going with this 50 a day task, I'm not necessarily saying, just always do 50, but let's just say the task is come up with something creative to email a small subset of your customers in your database or your prospects in your database. And maybe there's only 5. But start building the habit of activity to support marketing, and today we're just going to do 5. Next week we might do 70. But overall, let's work towards we create some sort of an activity level on a daily basis that says we're going to do some marketing. We're really going to promote something out there. One of the clever texts I received, Ileana, when I was shopping for a car was one that came from a salesperson that I had dialogue with, and then I had stopped communicating back to him. The text came over and it had a picture of the car, and the message said, "She's been asking about you all day." And I thought, whoa, that is really clever. And if I really liked that car, I'd be all over this guy to buy it. But that's really what I'm talking about, is be clever, be creative, and be persistent with your marketing.
I love that. Okay. We have a handful of questions left, so I definitely want to get to them and close out the show probably within the next 10 minutes. So hang in there, everyone, okay? Because I know we still have a lot of people on the call. This next question, let me see who this is from. This is very, very interesting. This is from William. And William says, my department has increased from 115 appointments showing to 289 appointments showing just this last month. And it took over 12 months for that to happen, to increase his shows by 56%. Here's his question. How do I get a feel for my ceiling? At what point am I pushing my two guys are doing 289 appointments this month, too hard to give me more? I'm not from the car industry originally. I'm in the trenches with my guys daily, and I'm struggling with the need for their internet appointment setter. Do you offer tools to help me in this process? Finding the ceiling for my market, I need help. This is from William.
Well, William, I would stay in that vacuum, and I'd lock the doors and I'd cover the windows, and I wouldn't let your team know that there's anything less than that kind of performance. They're doing a remarkable job, so I would say you're really at a peak level. You're probably to the point to where you might want to staff, because what happens when you grow like that is all of a sudden you're thinking, oh, everything's really going good, and then somebody burns out. So I would start looking to bring someone in. The risk, of course, is if your team is earning for those kept appointments, they're probably going to begrudgingly let a third person in that room. So there's a lot of science and a lot of emotion that goes into that, but the point is your achievement level is admirable, and you just want to make sure that you facilitate the opportunity to sustain it by making the right smart moves going forward.
Thank you so much. William, your guy's doing a great job. Geez, take him out to lunch or something. Jeez. Christy wrote in, she had a really great idea. She said, I started a booking game. If they make an appointment and keep it, they get a gift. It's just a $1 gift that are new car related, like wipes or trash bags or air fresheners. But Christy said she's found that it is very, very helpful and very incentivizing. Great job, Christy. Okay, let's go on to this next question. Therese says, a BDC team member of mine is struggling with setting appointments of web leads at 30% or less the last 2 months. Any suggestions to help?
Well, I mean, there's a lot to be said for following the right communication tactics. What I would do is study each of the leads. There's a pre-contact checklist that we recommend and we provide to our clients, and be glad to provide that to you. And it's essentially what we call a 2-minute drill, where you really get to know what that customer is interested in, and then build on facilitating a good conversation with the customer, either by email and certainly our preference by telephone. But get on common ground, build rapport, and really start focusing on are we really helping our customer, or are we becoming more grabby and saying, get in here, get in here. It may be what you want, but the customers will abandon you and rebel if you don't focus on what they want.
Really? Okay, okay. Great question, Therese. Okay, Ron isn't the only person asked this question, but he has asked it most often. So I'm going to finally say your question, Ron. I hope you're still there. Ron wants to, and many other people want to know, how do they get a copy of the 2-week lead handling process that you spoke of, David Kain?
Well, certainly, as you alluded to earlier, it's in the deck, so if they want to email you for a copy of the deck, they can do that, or they're more than welcome to email me directly, and I will be glad to send that out to them.
All right, you heard the man. Either email him or email me. Now, I'm in Las Vegas, so it'll wait a few days, but other than that, it will get to you. So my email address is eliana@dealeron.com, and David, of course, is at david@kainautomotive.com. Okay, let's get to, I think we're down to the wire here. Okay, this next question is from Steve. He says, does having complete info on the VDP increase or decrease leads and the requirements of reps to fill in the blanks?
It definitely increases the leads because the customers have now got enough information to where they can select your car. Speaking from my own experience, if I go in and the VDP is limited and maybe we just put phrases in there but we don't describe the car and our pictures don't show the detail. I love First Look did a real good study on consumer behavior, and they said the reason why they love a lot of pictures is because they don't trust what dealers type, so they like to blow up the pictures and look for those details that should have been in the description. So I definitely lean towards great quality description supported by a lot of pictures of all the details of the vehicle.
I love it. Okay, Steve, I hope that helped you out. And I believe this might be our last question from Kevin. He says, do you have any printed guidelines for live chat? I know you mentioned it earlier, David.
So there's a company that we really lean on for those kind of guidelines, and it's Active Engage. So activeengage.com would be a really good place to go to, and they have a really heavy blogging activity going on. But if you wanted to reach out to Active Engage, and you can Google them, it's just got one E in the middle. They produce those guidelines, and we depend very heavily on their research to guide our customers.
I love it. Okay, and Rodney wrote in. He says, David, help. I was hoping you'd be here by now doing your consulting. So I just want you to know there are people out there who are hunting you down, David Kain. And by the way, David Evans wrote in. He said, great presentation, lots of exclamation marks. Honestly, I could not agree more. Every single time I think you cannot do better. There's no possible way. You always prove me wrong, David Kain, and I appreciate you so much. Fabulous presentation, great question and answer session, and I'm looking forward to the next time we do a webinar together, my friend.
Good. Thank you, Ileana, and thank you to all who stuck around. It's been a real pleasure. I've really enjoyed it.
I love having you here, and we're going to get you back on the show again soon. You and I, we're going to talk. Now, if you agree with me, audience, that it was a fantastic presentation, and how could you not, I'll tell you what, we're going to be sending out a survey in just moments after I close out this webinar. Please fill it out and let me and David know what you thought of today's presentation. It's really important that we get your feedback. Of course, we're going to randomly select a couple of people from all those completed surveys to also win a Google Prize. Wouldn't that be great? Also want to let you know we did record this webinar, and you're going to be getting a link to that recording later today. We're going to have it posted online too at dealeron.com/webinars, where you can view our upcoming webinar schedule and access any of our past webinars too. And hey, invitations. Oh, wait a minute. There's something else we need to talk about, isn't there? Oh, yes. My EVP and co-founder of Dealeron, Amira Mirzvani, is going to be speaking at the upcoming 10th Annual Automotive Digital Success Workshop from none other than Kain Automotive. Now, it's November 10th through the 12th in Lexington, Kentucky, so if you're going to wind up going to this amazing event, then please, won't you please check out Amir Mirzvani and his amazing session on mastering the art and science of website conversion. I really hope you get to go to this amazing workshop. If you haven't been, you are kind of missing out on one of the greatest events of the year. And yes, invitations will be going out tomorrow for our next webinar, How to Leverage Your Telephone for Double-Digit Growth with Jack Behar. The telephone is one of the oldest technologies in the dealership and arguably one of the most effective. Surprisingly, in most dealerships, it is also the most overlooked. Accounting for more than 50% of all dealership interactions with your customers, it's easy to see that if you want double-digit growth, well, it's going to start with your telephone. During this webinar, the undisputed telephony expert, Jack Behar, will discuss different methodologies of call recording and how it benefits every department at your dealership. Attendees will learn how to redefine and own all of your dealership's phone activities, not just the calls that come in from lead sources. He'll highlight the tools that Fortune 1000 companies have been using for years and show how capturing all your calls will increase your bottom line in your sales, your service, and your parts departments. Finally, Jack is going to share what courses of action dealers must take today to empower employees with the tools needed to become more productive and set their dealership on the path toward bigger profits. This first-of-its-kind presentation is for all departmental managers and dealership owners who are ready to leverage the telephone for double-digit growth. Are you one of them? Well, then this is one webinar you can't afford to miss. Don't forget, Dealer-On's weekly webinars are held every Thursday at 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, and we have some really great webinar subjects planned to round out the year of 2014. But if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions regarding these webinars and our topics, contact me directly. Again, my name is Eliana Raggio. I love hearing from you. I'm everywhere. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Google+. I'm on all the automotive social networks. Track me down online, or just email me directly at eliana@dealeron.com. And I want to thank you all so very much for spending this time with us today, and I hope to see you all on another webinar in our continuing education series. Have yourselves a great day.